Hi, thank you for listening to my podcast. If you're interested in creating your own podcast, it's easier than ever. You don't need any special equipment or spend hundreds of dollars on microphones and such. All you need is your smartphone and the Anchor app. Anchor is an app for you to create your own lovely podcast just like I did. It's absolutely free. All you need is the Anchor app, your smartphone, and some headphones to get started. You can download the Anchor app from either your Apple or Android marketplace or from anchor.fm. It's easy and free to get started. What if you already have your own podcast? Well, guess what? You can also use the Anchor app as well. You can actually upload all of your previous episodes and get started from there. And you can even monetize your shows as well if you choose to. Again, that's anchor.fm to get started. And again, it is absolutely free. Hello, and welcome to the Millennials Guide to Fascinating Womanhood. My name is Lisa, and thank you for joining us here on the show. I'm so glad that you're able to tune in with us. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about the ideal woman in a man's point of view. So those last few words I just said, from a man's point of view, is very important to remember. Because, first of all, feminists and women who are, quote-unquote, men haters would really be upset about that word I just said. They would be saying, how dare you want to impress a man and be what he wants you to be? How dare you be who you want to be? Well, guess what? I am a woman who likes men. And in order for me to like men, I need to be able to cater myself into a way that men would like. I need to be able to be this person and this standout individual that a man would be interested in. It's just like you're going for a job interview. Say that I was supposed to interview to be a chef. I cannot go into a job interview looking for a job as a chef with the qualifications of someone who is a firefighter, because I'm not going to get the job. I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know how to handle certain situations. Well, probably I'll be able to handle the situation if the kitchen catches on fire, because I would have those qualifications of a firefighter, but I wouldn't have the qualifications of how to cook a steak or how to make chicken, because I did not study that. I studied how to be a firefighter. So it's just the same way as if you are, say, a single woman and you're looking for a gentleman. You're going to want to stand out with the qualities that a gentleman would want. So that is what the ideal woman means. So if you do have your Fascinating Womanhood book or Fascinating Girl book, you will find in the book a woman who's split into split in half. And this is who represents the ideal woman. She represents two different facets that intrigues men. That is the angelic side and the human side. And these two form what is called the ideal woman from a man's view. So the angelic side is the side that arouses a feeling of near worship in a man. That is the spiritual component of a woman. That is the side that understands a man. That is a side that accepts and understands not only him, but herself as well. That gives her inner happiness. This is the side where her domestic goddess skills come out, her mothering, her making a house a home. This is the side of a woman. That's, again, the spiritual components that really brings a man to near worship. So this is the angelic side, as I've just said. This is the side that gives her this great personality and character within herself. And then you have the human side, the human qualities, which is the, as you can hear, human components of a woman. It's the stuff that's on the outer banks. This is the femininity, the way that she walks, the way that she dresses, the way that she moves her body, the way that she uses her voice, the way that she speaks. This is her girlishness, her childlike mannerisms. This is her health. Of course, we see the outer parts of her health and how she takes care of her body and her well-being. This is her outer happiness. This is how she smiles and radiates the whole world around her. That is the human components of a woman. So I will, of course, talk about, if you look in the book, you're familiar with the story of David Copperfield. Maybe you've seen the movies, maybe you've read the book, but Miss Helen Allen does break that book down in Fascinating Womanhood, the vintage edition. And she talks about these two different women in David Copperfield's life. She talks about Agnes, who is the girl that David Copperfield grew up with, and she represents the angelic qualities. He kind of, for example, holds her up as an example like the stained glass window in a church and how pure she is. She has the domestic qualities because her father is a widow, so she takes care of him. And she also understands men. She understands David. And so David goes in and confides and talks to her when he needs advice. And she is has strong moral values of herself. And even though he is attracted to her, even though he does go to her in times of need, he doesn't marry her at first. He marries Dora because Dora has these human qualities. She is very feminine. She has these little whims about her. She has a little radiating happiness about her. And that she represents the human qualities. She's a little girlish and such. So each of them represents something, but they are lacking in the other department. So for example, Agnes, again, is the angelic qualities. And as Jack said, she's a pure domestic goddess, understands men. But when it comes to those girlish qualities and those human qualities, she doesn't have it because she is way too independent and she is able to kill her own snakes and take care of herself. So he doesn't see that girlishness and that childlikeness in her. So that's why he goes and marries Dora. And even though he's married to Dora, Dora doesn't have great homemaking skills. She doesn't understand her husband. He buys her a big old expensive cookbook and she uses it to place her dog on. And she doesn't know how to take care of the finances. She doesn't know how to take care of the home. So even though he's married to Dora, he goes and still talks to Agnes and confides in her. So years later, Dora dies, and then he marries Agnes. And he has children with Agnes. He's happy with Agnes. But then one day his daughter puts these little tiny flowers together and makes a little ring out of it. And it reminds him of Dora and the ring that he gave her. So he still has her, of course, in his heart because this was his wife. And he was very connected and emotionally attached to her. So he has these two women in his life that represents the examples of an ideal woman, but each woman is missing one main component. So when we are looking at the ideal woman, one great example is from the book Vanity Fair. And whether you've seen the movies, either the 1930s version or the 2004 version with Reese Witherspoon, who I will love to talk about her in just a second, because I think she also, in her real life, might represent a little bit of the ideal woman, in my opinion, but that's a whole other story. If you look at not her Becky Sharp character, her Becky Sharp character does represent a couple of attributes of the ideal woman, but not quite. We're actually going to talk about her friend, Amelia. Now, Amelia is who represents the ideal woman as a whole. And we'll get a chance to see that in just a second. Turn it over to that page. So, the author of Vanity Fair, he breaks down a little bit of who Amelia is. And Amelia is admired by actually a couple of men. One man, of course, married her because he had been arranged to marry her, but of course, his father did not want her to marry her because of the fact that by the time she got of age, her father lost the money and she wasn't of the standing she was supposed to be. And he did kind of love her, but he married her out of honorability. And even though this other man was in love with her and tried to show her to her, but she just never understood. But that's a whole different story. So while we analyze Amelia, She represents, again, both the angelic qualities and human qualities. Her character, she's a very noble woman, and it's very easily for men to worship and admire her because she has this very beautiful character about her. She has a wonderful personality. She, again, has the qualities that arouses a man to mere worship. And these qualities, again, why we say the words from a man's point of view, is because some of these qualities, and most of these qualities, women would not like. For example, she's, again, she shows qualities that men would like, not women. And sometimes we have to understand that. You actually can see in the book that women call her facade and deceptive. So they think that she is fake and that she is plain and boring. But men don't see that in her. They see that she is kind, she's fresh, she's happy, she has this smiling face. When I remember looking at the movie, she always had a positive outlook. Even when people were talking about her friend Becky Sharp and putting her down, she was still very kind and sweet to her. She was tender. She was artless, which pretty just much means that she, oh my goodness, I lost the definition of artless, but it's a very positive word. She was a natural. She's not a fake. She's not decepting people. She is just natural. And men loves that about her. And that's what men love about women. She has this pure character about her. She has domestic quality skills. She's very optimistic, even if she was raised wealthy. And sadly, again, her father lost a lot of his money in different situations, so they had to downsize. But she still had a positive outlook on life. When it comes to her human qualities, again, very, very feminine. She had a freshness about her. She showed childlike, not childishness, childlike and girlish qualities about herself. She was very tender. She was very trusting. And again, she was just a very happy and radiant person, very healthy and such. And that, again, is what brought men to worship her and to appreciate her and admire her. And some of these skills might sound very hard, but actually they're quite not. We just have to start looking at what a man would want. And sadly, a lot of us, when we think of what a man would want, we think of physical attributes. We think that men want somebody who's 25 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes, a small waist, big chest, maybe a round bottom, big hips. We look at physical attributes, and granted, men do look at women in a physical manner, but not always the case. Sometimes you might see a woman who's all dressed up to the hilts and to the nines, and men probably are passing her by, and then you see a plain Jane, and guys are attracted to that. It's because that plain Jane might have these feminine walls and qualities and charms about her, which men can appreciate. And if you don't believe that, look at some of the most beautiful women in the world and think about either how many times they've been married or if their significant other has ever cheated on them. Because sometimes when people think, oh, a woman is getting cheated on, the first thing they think of is, what does she look like? Has she let herself go? And that's not true, because if that's the case, there wouldn't be an album called Lemonade by Beyonce about her husband cheated on her. That would not exist, because Beyonce, let's all think, is one of the most beautiful women in the world. So let's just take that out of the equation. I also do want to break something down when it comes to the ideal woman. This is just a basic template. When it comes down to your personalities, that's what makes us even more unique. And again, not all guys are going to like all women the same. Some men like brunettes, some like blondes, some like women who are a little chunkier, some guys like women who are small, some guys like tall girls, some guys like short girls. It is the ideal woman, the femininity that guys really do like. So if you are a blonde woman who is feminine and a guy who is attracted to you likes blonde women, guess what? You kind of hit the jackpot. So you can also be mysterious. You can be playful. You can be bashful. You can be spontaneous. it is just your personality that makes you shine. As long as you have a positive personality, he is going to love it. And that is just pretty much what an ideal woman is. And sadly, it's something that we were taught years and years ago. But sadly, if you look at the way our world is, if you look at how women are brought up, these are things that we're not teaching girls. We're not teaching girls how to be feminine. When people think of femininity, they think of just high heels, lip gloss, and a skirt. And it is so much more than that. We're not teaching little girls etiquette anymore. We're not teaching little girls how to individuality. Everybody's trying to look like everybody else. How many shows have I seen where girls are trying to look like Kim Kardashian or look like Nicki Minaj or look like all of these big, well-known celebrities? We're not teaching girls individuality anymore. When people think of the word childlikeness, they're thinking of it sadly in a very negative term. But women taught their girls how to be kind of these little damsels in distress, and that sadly has become a negative connotation, and it shouldn't be. And again, these are the things were taught no matter what your class was. Mostly, like, we was taught in upper class nonchalance, but it was girls were taught how to be women. They were taught domestic skills. They were taught the fact that men are different from women. And again, if you are looking in our generation, if you're looking in our world, that is not the case. So that's why I felt it is important that I break down what the ideal woman is. I'm actually going to do another episode, might come out in the next couple days, in honor of President's Day, because I am a U.S. citizen. So I'm going to actually talk about our first ladies and which one of our first ladies holds different qualities of an ideal woman, so I can break it down a little bit more. I'm also going to talk about, in the next few days as well, some of our celebrities. I said I was going to talk about Reese Witherspoon. I'm going to talk about some of our well-known celebrities or celebrity wives who hold the attributes of an ideal woman. So, thank you all for joining me here today. If you would like to be a guest on my show, please reach out to me. You can leave me a voice message. If you're on the Anchor app, I'll be happy to listen to it. Or you can look at my bio and you can get my email address and leave me a message. If you would like to support the channel, I'll be setting up a Patreon page very soon, but you can also leave a support either in my PayPal, Cash App, or Anchor app has something connected to it that you can leave a few dollars if you would like to help support this channel. But again, thank you all so much for joining me here today. I hope you learned a little bit about the ideal woman from a man's point of view. If you would like to get a more detailed explanation on this, I am a certified and trained Fascinating Womanhood teacher, and I do have a course based on Fascinating Womanhood, and I would love for you to join me in my course. So again, if you would like more information, you can check it out either on my Facebook page or my Instagram page. It will take you to a link tree, which will take you to that lovely course. And if you would like this book, you can get Fascinating Womanhood Finished Edition on Amazon or FascinatingWomanhood.com. I think right now, sadly, FascinatingWomanhood.com's books are sold out at this time. I'm going to get some more information on that. But again, we do also have the book Fascinating Womanhood Timeless Edition, which just talks about the ideal woman and more as well of how to be a fascinating woman and inspire femininity in yourself, inspire masculinity in your husband, and to have a loving love affair in your relationship. Thank you all for joining me here, and I hope to hear you guys going to come back soon and listen more to the Millennials Guide to Fascinating Womanhood, which Lisa, thank you for joining us, and have a great, wonderful, and loving, fascinating day.